Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome to round 8 of the Apex Racing League Prototypes Championships. We are here for the penultimate round of the championship here at Monza. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, alongside me is Austin Knight, and Jimmy Fluke is bringing you this broadcast on our YouTube channel. Austin, the championships have closed up. It's been a good few rounds for those who are interested in a tight championship hunt. We've got one of the championships tied, we've got the other two championships very much still alive. This should be an exciting final couple of rounds to this season.
It really is, and you know, Monza is sometimes known as the great equalizer of tracks. You know, you got these long straightaways, very big opportunities to make these overtakes. It's going to be hard to build out a gap, especially in these LMP2s. Well, it's going to be much easier than in slower cars, but still, it's going to be a lot of pack racing here. Traffic management is going to be very key. Maybe let a few LMP buys or position your car so that the LMPs could have to get a little bit elbows outish and disrupt the car that you are fighting. It's going to be a lot of fun here. We know we got these 3 chicanes, the 2 Lesmo corners, and the Alboreto corner. Not a lot of corners to really put the left foot down and brake, but you know, I feel like in these braking zones we might be seeing a little bit of RG-bargy or maybe some fuel saving, and we might see some of our longest fuel stints this season.
Yeah, fuel saving could be very important, particularly in the P2s. If you can get into the draft of the car ahead, then you got a fantastic opportunity at saving some fuel, as we see the track map. The first chicane, obviously, and then the Curva Grande, not quite as threatening as it used to be, but take away the chicane prior, and it would be a massive challenge. Probably not in these cars necessarily. And then, yeah, into the 4-5 chicane. And then after that is the Lesmos. And I really want to get to the point, Austin, that you named Parabolica Alboreto. Now, what's going through your head?
I did not name that Parabolica. This circuit has named it Alboreto. It's an honor of Italian race car.
The track doesn't name the corners. I mean,
the circuit does name the corners.
The fans name the corners. That's who is in power in this one, and that is still Parabolica, no matter what.
Well, if the fans named corners, there's going to be a few corners out there that will have completely different meanings of corners. Ascari, that was named by the circuit, and it's been set by the fans, 8, 9, and 10. Going to be watching the curbs on 9 and 10. I've seen horrible incidents, and on the exit of 8, and then heading into turn 11, formerly known as Parabolica, now known as Alboreto. You got to accept change, but 11 corners on this track, and a very fast lap here at the Temple of Speed here at Monza. But yeah, in our YouTube chat, Parabolica versus Alboreto. What do you guys think? Write it down in there. And, you know, any other fans versus circuit corner changes stories, put them in chat, because I always love to hear which tracks completely rename a part of a beloved corner name.
Well, this
and then
on steroids, because pretty much most of the corners have been renamed. You got Prima Variante, as is turn 1 apparently. Curva Biasone is Curva Grande, and Seconda Variante is the second chicane. So a lot of renaming. Let us know what you think of that in the chat, as Austin says. Here's the championship standings, probably more pressing. Jack Will's at the top. However, Luis Araya is not around tonight, and that will hit him. And if Wills wins tonight, that will probably confirm the championship win for him. So really big that Jack takes advantage of this, and even if he doesn't, he'll have a very strong position going to the final round. Disappointing that we're not going to see that championship come down to the wire, most likely, but Wells has still got to finish tonight in order to put a hand on the trophy. In the P2 Pros, it is a tie. 284 points between the Pure Sims Esports driver. Series Sabi came out on top last time. He also got a bonus point for the for getting 0 incidents across the race. So that is why they are tied. It's pretty much a 2-race showdown. We could have a tie in the championship at the end of the season, and then that would come down to race wins in that scenario. Thomas Mork is top of the P2 AMS, but again, that gap is quite small. He didn't have a good time at Mosport. He's only 11 points ahead of Jake Shuri and only 12 points ahead of Morton Cathode. However, the 3J1K racing drivers have been quite quick in the recent rounds, Austin. So I think they still Mork is the strong favourite for that championship by my going.
Yeah, Thomas Mork and the seeing that he is on the 1KJ, guys. They're very well versed, especially at tracks that can get a little bit dicey. Last week they were looking pretty good. And that was at a track that only the LMP2s had experience on. The LMP1s never visited there. But they seem to adapt pretty well. And Monza is going to be it's a hotbed for activity. Pretty much, we're going to be seeing downforce levels at their lowest, maximizing the top speed, especially in qualifying. And all these guys are going to be trying to boost the amount of speed that you have. And one of our LP1s that we were watching was trying to boost the tire warmth as they came across the line. I'm guessing they did one lap, not happy about that. They have 10 minutes of qualifying here. 2 laps of qualifying in this 10-minute session, so I'm guessing they did 1 lap, not happy about that, and going on to their final lap right there, or that was their out lap, and they're just banking it all in for that one final lap. As finish line is at the very front of the straight. Start line is kind of halfway down the straight, and yeah, it's very awesome. Heading into Monza Turn 1, you know, you always get the meme of take it easy into Monza Turn 1. How are we going to be... How do you think this is going to happen? Do you think everybody's going to be taking it easy at Turn 1, or are we going to have a few drivers get a little bit feisty with each other?
Well, in the pre-race briefing, the drivers get a little bit of a message to let them know what things to look out for at each circuit, maybe some reflections on the previous race. And in that pre-race meeting, it did say, be cautious into turn 1. So I think that pretty much means that there's absolutely 0 chance of any incidents. And that's very much covered that off. So that's all good. There's no chance of there being any incidents whatsoever down into turn 1, because the drivers have been notified. So that should all be sorted. And it can be a problematic corner, but obviously if you have a smaller field, and the fact that it splits in 2 by the class as well should help us. That was painful for Wilhelmsen.
That was painful to watch. That would probably be painful to be on board with. And if they had a direct drive connected to there, I think they might have broke a wrist. Because
Right.
that is a wrist breaker of a curb strike right there. Cars clattering, you know, the sausage curbs aren't dangerous. Remove them from every circuit in the world, and I'm pretty sure everybody would be safe. We don't need them in the virtual world as we police ourselves with circuits, and they're off tracks. Unless you're at Alton Park and you just decide to push a wheel onto a blade of grass, but I'm slightly salty about that, but anyway.
We all share that pain. By the way, there's a new driver in the series. We have got Wessel Bakema, who is a new driver to the championship. And he is top of the P2 AMs at the moment. And
yeah, what a way to make your debut. Sitting on provisional pole by 4/10 to Harley Smith, as Jack Wells is on a very big flyer. Sorry, 2 seconds ahead of Felipas, and I feel like that gap is going to raise up right there. 27.5 currently, chops it down to 27.065, 3 seconds ahead of Roberto de Felipas. Jack Wells, oh yeah, he knows he did a stormer lap right there. Flashing lights like, yeah, I know that, I did that.
I think Wells hasn't necessarily got too many pole positions so far this season. I mean, Araya, I think, has got the last couple. Then, of course, we've had Lockie Brown take a lot. And so this will be quite a nice feeling for Jack to take pole position. Let's look at the understeer. I think that might be a 1x for Cathode. Yeah.
They kept the right side of the car on track.
Oh, are they that lenient? I guess it's the new rules, isn't it? I've driven this like it's so little that I probably don't know the white line rules.
I'm probably just thinking about my touring car style, but yeah, it was an off-track according to Jamie Fluke. Yeah, don't listen to what I do because I go by touring car rules, and our touring car off tracks, and we were just at Long Beach last night, so I'm still on I'm still on cut everything as close as it can be right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be too busy, other stewards, are they, around Long Beach when it comes to track limits, as the qualifying is nearly complete. There it is, the 10 minutes. And the checkered flag is waved. And we move on to the grid. We have half a lap of pace car around this circuit. And it is Jack Wells on pole position ahead of Roberto De Filippis. Hilner Wilhelmsen lines up in P3, and then serving pit lane starts are Loveridge and Lane. In the P2 Pro, Civi Sabo is ahead of Daniel Kraft. However, you see in the P2 AMS, Wessel Bakema was not far off them. Only 3/10 off pole position and not far at all off Daniel Kraft. So he could potentially play a part, and of course you do score points for your overall position in the P2 class, not by your AM and Pro rating. So watch out for Wessel there. He's at the top of the P2 AMS ahead of Shuri, who needed that qualifying, needs to gain 11 points in the championship, and he's got a few cars between himself and Thomas Mork off the line here. Then it's Harley Smith, Morton Caffode, Thomas Mork, Justus Marks, and Paul Joseph Klest, rounding out the 7 P2 AM drivers in the 14 car field we have for tonight. I think the most interesting position there, Austin, is the position of Thomas Mork. He's been terrific this season, and particularly in the early part of the season, he was dominating the P2 AMs, and yet at this penultimate round of the championship, it seemed like a completely fair qualifying, and yet he's down in 5th, probably one of his most tricky qualifyings of the season.
Yeah, it's not going to be doing very good wonders, especially at the start of the race. If he has an issue on the brakes, or if there's a driver who's hesitant, he's going to be losing a lot of time to the lead, and he will be losing a lot of points, because sometimes in these races, it's mostly about how it goes, but sometimes things can definitely go wrong in a 1-hour race in the first 5 minutes, and that will just determine how this entire day is going to go. And Mork in these first few laps is just going to have to take it easy and then pick his way through the field. Don't be that aggressive, as our pace car is off the grid right now as we exit from underneath the old oval and into Ascari.
Yes, and already a gap forming, you can see, between the P1s and the P2s. The acceleration zone, so the zone where the pole sitter in each of the car classes can put their foot down. They've got a choice to put it down anywhere between the finish line and the start line. So you'll see them, they're basically checkered lines across the circuit, and the drivers can accelerate any portion of that, can the pole sitter. The drivers behind that, from second all the way down to the back of the field, they have to wait until the pole sitter goes. Even if the green flag is out, they still have to wait for the pole sitter to launch the car. So watch out for that one. We often see the drivers leave it very late, particularly Daniel Kraft, I think, at Mosport left it to the right to the last moment. It's usually the best strategy, and of course with a big slipstreaming opportunity down into turn 1, that might be a tactic that Wells and Civi Sabo adopt tonight.
We saw that big crash at Hungaroring where 3 LMP1s and 3 LMP2s got into each other on their starts with mismatched starts and everything. As they come through Alboreto right now, the green flag is in the air as they approach this start zone, and it's time to get ready to wait for it. Green, here we go! Went pretty early on that one, and Jack Wells deploying the boost immediately to get off to a rocket start, and then the Audi of Hilner Helmsen joined him right there, but they all spread out into a single line. Jack Wells defending onto the inside, already hopping over the curbs, and there goes the 116. That was a very slow rollout right there by Daniel Staswell, but did you see what Daniel Kraft did? They orchestrated that one because immediately Kraft gets into the draft of Staswell, and they hold that outside line and make it pretty easy 1-2 for them. There goes side by side, later down into the field. Kofet and Wassell going side by side. Wassell on the outside in that 277, making that work, leaving a little bit of space right there, but everybody making it through turn 1 very easily. So we go back to our LP1s as they head through Lesmo 2 right now, getting back onto the straight. A little bit of a bad exit for Hilner. Here comes Matt Loveridge making a move for second place. Matt getting around the outside right there and jumping up into second place as they head to Ascari. And we've had an issue. Jack Shuri just dipping the wheel off of Lesmo 2 as this is a side-by-side fight. Thomas Mork already getting up in place right there on Morton Kofet, his teammate.
Yeah, and championship driver as well, so that's big for Mork, who did seem to be faster than Kofed last time out, but decided to wait behind him. Kofed winning his first race of the season in the P2 AMS, as here comes Marks on Kofed. Awful start here for Kofed, and he's offline again, but Marks is into the wall. Is he going to rejoin into Clist? Fortunately, he does not. There's no run up there whatsoever, and Marks will be frustrated with that one, taking too much curb on the entry to Ascari and spinning around, but Kofed really struggling. Contact lock up from Josh Lane there. He was trying to get past Hilner Wilhelmsen, and I can only hope they've escaped any damage there. You could see Lane desperately trying to turn the corner, and I know it, Austin. I thought that was fairly significant, but it seems like they're continuing without problems.
It seemed like a very body-on-body tap. No wheels involved in that hit. If there was, I do not see any damage on either of the car. You're going to be seeing some of these drivers on the straights. If they have damage, you're going to wiggle the wheel left to right just a little bit and see if the wheel is hanging off just in any sort of direction. They both made the corner just fine, so I do not see any significant imbalance of the car as I head into the brakes. As we go back to our LMP2s and our LMP2 Pros. And AMS, this is Wessel sitting in 9th place right now, sitting in 2nd place in the P2 AMS, and 4th place overall in the LMP2. So Wessel dropping down to Jake Shuri ahead of him. Jake Shuri currently leads Wessel off there as they chase the two LMP2 Pros and the two teammates, Stevie Southwood and Daniel Kraft.
Yeah, Bukema wouldn't have been happy with that start. It seemed like his initial launch was alright, but he just got done through the first chicane. Prima Variante, at least
actually made it overtake through the first chicane. He was overtaken into the second chicane. I feel like he was just a little bit, he couldn't get onto the brakes, and he was just stuck onto the inside. And if you go side to side to that second chicane, we've seen multiple times that the inside car is usually the one that gets affected the most by a car on the outside, because you always got to leave the space, and if you push the car out wide, the finger pointing is going to be all on you. As this is Wessel back down to the inside and back into the lead of the P2 AMS.
Yeah, he hasn't lost too much time to Kraft and Co, so he's 2 seconds behind. He's still got hopes that he could get involved in this race. Actually, on that last lap, he matched Civi Sabo and Kraft. They all lapped within 2/100ths of a second of one another. So competitive stuff. And actually, Civi Sabo's just had a rubbish first sector, so he's lost the handy lead that he had, and it's all very close again. Lane dealing with the Ascari chicane. I think you're right earlier on that they are completely fine despite that contact. And say it's still Wilhelmsen in 3rd place, but Lane and De Philippis seemingly quite evenly matched. Wilhelmsen probably one of the most consistent drivers out on circuit. Lane and De Philippis maybe a little bit more susceptible to an incident, albeit I think they have just as much ultimate pace. So we hope that these three will stay close to one another for the entire race. Certainly Lane gaining some time down the pit straight. And of course we'll have the Porsche versus the Audi. The Audi, now I forget every single time with this one, Austin, but it's the Audi which collects energy down the straights, isn't it? It has the MGU.
It's the wrong way, it's the Porsche.
Later. I'll see you guys next week.
Alright, thank you Sam for joining us in the booth, and I hope y'all enjoyed Sam and his wonderful contributions here in the Apex Racing League and here on Apex Racing TV. He's being sacked for his incompetence, but hey, you're still stuck with me. As we return to our fights in the LMP2 AMS, Jake Shuri and Wessel Backman fighting for the lead with each other. And this beautiful scenery here in Monza, home of the famous Alboreto corner. Formerly known as Parabolic. Here goes Jake Shuri. Look down to the inside. Still a little bit of fake right there. Not going to go for the move as they continue on through that second chicane and heading into Lesmo 1 and 2 right now. The field is very spread out and outside of our leaders, especially in the LP1s. After that incident, Roberto De Filippis in the Ascari just hooked that inside curb. Car went all the way around and have been unable to continue that. But we do have a fight between Josh Lane and Hilner Wilhelmsen as they start their 4th lap. Here comes Heelner looking down, looking on the outside. Josh Lane down to the inside, not locking up the core. Heelner goes a little bit wide on the entry and exit. Josh Lane trying to go for the double switchback right there. They continue this fight. Roberto De Filippis, after his incident, is catching him. Josh Lane looking onto the outside right now. They're going side by side, heading into that second chicane. Lane's got the advantage onto the inside. Heelner's going to be on the outside, but Josh Lane cuts off the nose right there. Used his boost to get ahead of Heelner, and that Porsche stays ahead in 3rd place. I'm going to be honest, I believe the Porsches are going to be at a bigger advantage than the Audis because of their regenerative capabilities on the straightaways.
That's the point I was trying to make earlier on before I embarrassed myself. That's, yeah, having the MGUH collecting energy from the heat.
Wizard magic, as I call it.
Wizard magic, yeah. Rather than underbraking. Of course, both these cards will, get most of their energy from underbraking, the kinetic energy, but yeah, using the heat energy, which can be collected down the straights, can be very useful for the Porsche. So yeah, you would expect there's going to be an advantage for that car. By the way, it's a good point, to be fair, in the YouTube chat from SL Daniel, saying that it's an official corner name now. As a homage to an important driver. I'm going to cut my losses. I'm going to say, all right, call it Alburetti. We don't need Parabolica. Okay, I'm cutting my losses there. However, it is still unacceptable how they've renamed the Vettelvideo to Chicane 1 and Della Rosia to Chicane 2. Pretty much. I mean, I don't know what the logic is there, Austin. Maybe we've been referring to them as the first chicane and the second chicane this whole time. However, come on, keep
probably because Americans probably because Americans like me mess it up so much that they felt bad. But also, I've seen some name changes or just names put in that make no sense at times, but they do make sense. And there's sometimes the worst name. Circuit of the Americas famously has no corner names until of last year, where they renamed Turn 1 Big Red
and put a big old paint sponsor on the runoff area, I believe. So just buy the check. Of course, we bought a corner, didn't we? You got Apex
yes, we
corner,
did.
haven't you?
And in Turn 9.
You got the Lee Thompson race joints as well around that area. So. And Marco's Italian, so some great stuff. Look at our Facebook post from April the 1st. See more details.
Very important day. I was busting my butt to get that deal made, and I'm so happy that happened. And come on, the glorious day of April 1st. So happy, and yeah, visit right there as oh no, De Filippis. Oh, looks like he's taking his driver's test right there, and that Audi definitely did not have the. Definitely did not pass the moose test of agility.
Yeah, I mean, Roberto's... I mean, he's made a mistake in the first place, but he's just harmed himself about 10 times more than he had to. I mean, in this scenario, you just go across. You can see there's a line there. Just no, don't turn. Don't turn.
Straight line, just straight line. Just kill the cones.
I know it's...
I know we care... I know we like to meme about... I know we like to meme about the cones having families there and everything, but they're just cones. This is a virtual game.
I mean, if there are people lost in, I mean, it's still worth just mowing them down in that scenario. I mean, you're losing so much time when you're trying to turn that much. Oh, he's lost it again. That's the replay. Oh, does he get beached? Nah, he's all right.
Oh, no. Well, he's not beached, but he's hopped over that curb so many times, and oof. And Sam's been canceled.
Well, you can't say that you can't run over people nowadays. What's this world turning to?
I'm pretty sure this world is not GTA. If this was GTA, go for it.
That's... I get confused between the two, you see, Austin. So,
I know, the lines get blurry at times. Graphics now these days are just so good. Even though GTA came out 10 years ago. But nearing 10 years ago, oh my gosh, I am old.
you know, a driver who is driving his car like he's stolen it. It's a nice A nice segue there.
Yes,
Wessel Bekema.
And
Okay,
Wessel.
well, we said different drivers, but I was thinking about
Both these drivers are
he's
driving
ahead.
like they stole it because they are both in a fight and they've cleared the rest of the field behind them. So, but yes, our top two drivers, Bekema and Shuri, definitely are driving it like they stole it. And Daniel Stizzy Southland and Daniel Kraft, because they are honestly, we expected this race, but Bekema is honestly driving it like they stole it right here. Just arrived in the series and definitely showing everybody up.
Yeah, this is a strong performance. He is dropping back from the Pure Sims cars. I did think he might be able to keep up. His qualifying pace was pretty much matching Daniel Kraft, and yet come the race, he's not quite keeping in touch on that last set. Well, I mean, most lap times, he is matching them. He must have had, like, maybe 2 poor lap times, Bekema, and that's why he's dropped quite so far off Daniel Kraft, because, yeah, it was like 2 seconds at one point, and every time I look up, he's like half a tenth slower or something, and now it's up to 4.5 seconds now, so it does seem to be a bit of a divide between the pros and the AMs tonight. Look at Harley Smith as well, actually, just in the background. He was faster than Shuri on that last lap, so good race for him. And the 3J1K racing drivers who have been really strong in recent rounds, really good, particularly Hockenheim. They nearly locked out the P2 AM podium. They're just nowhere tonight. Mork struggling to keep tabs. He's losing half a second a lap to the cars ahead. Gaffode, after that very strange start where he really was struggling in the first lap or so, he's barely matching his teammates. And they're not at the front of the race, and you know, it's surprising because these two are going for the championship, and right now Chickshire is going to take quite a chunk out of the pair of them.
Indeed, as Mork Kofed, even worse day for him, losing to Thomas Mork and actually just dropping out of the path. With these drivers being so far spread out, they aren't going to be utilizing the draft. So what is going to be the strategy throughout this race if, you know, they're out of the pack and don't really have any saving opportunities for them? Is it just go to the line and pray that an incident happens?
Sorry, I missed the first part of that, Austin. I am so sorry. Again, I really should be leaving here. But you were asking about the
were you thinking about corner? Were you thinking about corner names at that time?
Well, no, I was reading the YouTube chat, so I can only put it's very unprofessional. But
well, speaking of corner names, I want to actually go back on this because I want to ask you, what is the most common corner name in the world that is a named corner?
well, does first curve count?
No.
Because you know Suzuka's turn 1 is called first curve, but I wouldn't say that's
Yes.
P1. So first curve counts.
Like a first named part of the track that is not either naming the part of the circuit like curve, first corner, or second corner and all that stuff. A actual name that is not relating to the corner name.
It's probably going to be after a driver, isn't it? There's a few Clarks, I think, in the UK. It's a good question, though, Austin. It's a very good question. I'm very impressed.
I believe it's Coca-Cola corner. Fuji Speedway has it. Nürburgring GP circuit has
yeah.
it.
Well, what about
There's
Dunlop?
a few.
Dunlop.
Oh, Dunlop corner has a
Suzuka
good
has
one.
it, and
Yes.
also Nürburgring.
And Fuji.
Oh, and okay, so Fuji, just go to Fuji, guys, and then they just have
go
the
to
most
Fuji.
dull
Oh,
names.
Fuji also has one. No, they do not have 150R. They have 100,
Ooh,
300.
round
No,
is
they don't
off.
craft to the
What a
122.
mistake there. And is there going to be further contact? Oh my goodness, that could be a championship defining mistake from Daniel Kraft. And no matter what the corner name was there, it was a bad mistake. And here it was, going into Della Rogia. He's already lifting and coasting. You can see he wasn't even pushing. And he's just taking too much of the second curb. And that could cost Daniel Kraft the championship right there, because he was looking strong in P2, saving fuel. And now he is 9 seconds behind his teammate, a gap which, considering how close these two have been for the entire season, I have serious doubts he'll be able to even come close to reducing.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be trying to bring that one back, but that is a massive gap made from Daniel Kraft. He went from 7th place overall down to 10th place overall. He's lost 3 spots from that incident, but the amount of time that he's lost to Daniel Sasbo is going to be even bigger. And if he has overall damage underneath his car, that's going to be hurting him even more. Now, he's going to be faster than most of the field, but it's all uphill right now. So we're looking at Jack Wells. Put the blue flag to use right there. Go down to the inside and put a few LMP2s a lap down right here. As, you know, speaking of LMP1s, LMP2s, and prototypes in general, let's talk about hypercars. Have you seen the hypercars being revealed and tested out there today?
I saw the Ferrari the other day.
Oh, the Ferrari. Cool. That rear end of that Ferrari is very interesting. It's got like this 3-pronged rear wing, massive wing, and then it's got a B-wing under it, and then it's got like this massive diffuser. And it feels like that Ferrari has 3 different aero kits on that one test car, and they can just pick and choose how many levels that they use. And I feel like they might do the Peugeot route with the no wing at Le Mans next year.
Oh man, that'd be crazy, and it would look cool as well. But
the no wing cars, just really cool. Speaking of no wing cars, did you see what Zach Brown drove to the Silverstone Grand Prix?
I did not.
Oh, the McLaren Speedtail. If you haven't heard about this car, it goes 250 miles an hour, and it just looks like a. Honestly, it looks like a cartoon car.
Oh wow, the back of it's so weird. It's so long.
Yeah.
I got a massive boot. So here comes Kraft. He's going to make his way past Harley Smith. So this is for 4th position in car class. This does count, everyone. There's an extra couple of points for Kraft. You score points for your car class position, not your Pro-Am position. And so Kraft, you can see they're 8.5 seconds behind, so you just have to keep an eye on that one. That is the big gap for the championship that we need to be keeping an eye on, along, of course, with the gap between Shuri and Mork out on circuit. There is Shuri, very close to the back of Bikema. He is not letting Bikema get out of his sights by any means. And on that last lap, he actually gained by 7/10 of a second. Apologies, no, that was Kraft. Apologies. Shuri actually lost 2/10 of a second to Bikema, but Kraft absolutely flying it there. He's got to push. As let's see another image of that McLaren. Why is the back so long?
Well, it's to maximize aerodynamics and lower drag.
Okay.
I guess I thought that was self-explanatory, but it does look like a lowered Cybertruck.
Where's the engine?
I'm guessing behind the driver.
Okay, that would make sense, yeah.
Most McLarens are mid-engine right there. It's just that the back of the car is so long, it doesn't look like a mid-engine car. Also, it has 3 seats. They brought back the McLaren F1 seating position. You sit in the middle.
Because obviously, you know, there's going to be a lot of families in that car, so we need to pack in those families of 5, or 6.
Well, if you definitely pull up to the club in this bad boy, you're walking home with 2 girls.
I guess, yeah. And they're not going to want, they're going to, you know, you got the situation of shotgun, and at that point, you need 3 seats. You absolutely need 3 seats. No. I mean, I'm not sure if I'd like to drive it. If it's, I don't know how big it is actually. But
you would need to see it in person to know actually how big it is. But you know, it had Zach Brown in there, so it's comfy. Zach Brown being an American, you know, we're kind of big.
Yeah, well, you're 8 foot over there, aren't you? Famous.
I'm not 8. I'm 6 feet. I'm 6 feet. I'm not 8 feet. I'm no giant. I know my dad and I, we play basketball, but we don't have the genes to play basketball. We're no oh gosh, who's a tall person? Yao Ming over here. We're no 7'8" beast.
There you go. Yeah. Gosh, 7'8", seriously.
Yeah, that's how big Yao Ming was.
Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. We've got a couple more battles going on, by the way. Harley Smith actually keeping tabs with Kraft a bit. That's probably just the draft keeping him in play, as you see Kraft going well beyond the white line, but seemingly getting away with it. I think it gets proper strict after the green you have out there. It's more of the P1s move their way past. God, really losing a lot of time down that straight there, and then he's going to lose a little bit of time because he's actually as late on the brakes as Bill Helmton, who just moved his way through in his Audi. So that's how much confidence the 122 car has. And the gap between the top two and the P2 Pros is now 8.9 seconds, so it's actually increased over the last lap or so, and still became a very under pressure from show. We've also got a good battle between Klist and Marks. Klist just lost 2.5 seconds in the last lap to Justus Marks, and I thought he was going into the pits, but he was just trying to beat the draft.
Yeah, just trying to break the draft, going down to that inside line as much as they can. You know, Monza is like the most common we see drivers just hold down that inside line and just play chicken with the pit entry road. I don't know if you've seen that very famous Twitch clip of, I believe it was the Dlar Dash on the oval, where they were going the counterclockwise way that you should do on any oval because turning left is easier than turning right, apparently. And one of the drivers just baited them to following them onto the outside of the track, and then at last moment they switched down to the inside and right into the pit wall they went, or the Armco barrier on the outside. Yeah, you see that a lot in the Dlar Dash around here, but yeah, I'd say Monza is probably... Oh no, Justin Sparks misjudged the brake zone heading into Lesma 2 and sends Paul Joseph Klist into the gravel area, and well, that's definitely going to be a massive mistake, and Justus Marks knowingly is probably just slowing down and letting Paul back ahead of him, because yeah, that is just a mistake right there. There's no defending. If Justus doesn't get that back, I would be kind of cross between them, because Paul Joseph Klist, completely innocent party in all that situation.
Yeah, that's
and yeah, he moves down to the inside, and yep, he's letting him by.
And just giving him a bit of a head start as well, as he lets past the 82 car, the race leader, Jack Wells, who, by the way, leads this race by 10 seconds. Loveridge served a quali ban, so that's why he started from pretty much the back. I think he may have been ahead of Lane anyway. He was serving his quali ban as well. But Wells has been in a league of his own. Loveridge, even in clean air, hasn't been able to put up too much of a fight against it. I mean, he was actually 4/10 faster than that last lap, but that's a bit of a rarity out there. It has, on the most part, been increasing fairly consistently. And Loveridge, he's had some poor race results recently. At Hockenheim, he had a hardware failure. I think at Mosport, he may have had a hardware failure as well. Oh, he crashed out, okay.
Yeah, he crashed out. He hit... Oh, I think he had 2 incidents at Mosport. One, oh man, that's a lot of curve for Matt Loveridge. I swear he got airborne by hitting that curb on the entry of the second chicane as he's trying to chase down that LMP2 right there. But yeah, Loveridge is, you know, has had a string of bad lucks in the last 2 races, and hoping to negate all that here today and try to get a good finish. And you know, the best finish for Matt would either be a second or a first. Here, anything else in that, I don't know, because we only have 5 cars in the field. Some of our drivers are just not here because of personal reasons. Luis Arai, who is in the fight for the championship, decided, well, his girlfriend and him already had a pre-existing plan of them going to be at the cabin. He was asking about the F1 qualifying today, and he didn't ask for... He wanted spoilers, didn't ask for details, and so I just sent a screenshot of Mercedes tweet. And he's like, okay, I need to watch this now.
Yeah. It went downhill, didn't it? I don't think I've ever seen... Don't know about you, Austin. I can't recall a time when both teammates have crashed in qualifying.
Okay, I was about to like stop you right there, because I could count on top of my head multiple times. But in qualifying, yeah, in qualifying, both teammates crashing in the same qualifying session within 4 minutes of each other on the clock, not in real time. That is very rare. Both Williams might have done it before.
Your first instinct is that, yeah, I mean, probably Williams. Yeah.
And Haas. Haas had that issue last year with Kevin and Mick. No, not Mick and Nikita had an issue last season. Both of them in Q1. They had a qualifying issue, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember.
It was Jeddah. Oh, Jeddah this year.
Oh, Jeddah this year. I mean, Mick crashed. I don't think.
Yeah,
Kevin
Mick crashed.
though.
Kevin didn't crash. No, okay, it was Jeddah last year that had that issue with two teammates crashing. So it's a very rare instance. But in Q3, it was a top team in Q3. Both their cars just, and it was the same issue with them both. Back end kicking out.
Yeah. So we'll see if they can come back. Let us know on the YouTube chat what you think about the sprint format.
Yeah, sprint
format's
formats.
Time to get back to the front.
Yeah, sprint formats, and at Austria, you know, the curbs here at Austria. We're talking about Formula One here. Well, oh my gosh,
This is what the people want, Austin.
yes. Watch a race to talk about other races, while racers are probably thinking about other races right now, because the only battle on field in the field right now is our battle for the P2M lead between Bachman and Jake Shuri, who's just 7/10 behind here at Monza. But yeah, the sprint race tomorrow is going to be very interesting, especially if there might be a grid penalty for a driver for replacing the back end of their car. I think Lewis is fine, but George, I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I think you'll get away with it, but you're right, that could be one of them, where it's pokes through a suspension into something and breaks something else, and
Also, Perez had that investigation too.
Yes. Yeah, we'll see what happens to that one. Everyone will be tuning in tomorrow and Sunday, as we see Bakema still ahead of Shuri. 7/10, probably one of these races, and Monza is very much home of these types of races, where you don't want to be leading. And we say this every single week. You don't want to be.
Yeah,
leading. You want to be.
You don't want to be
second
leading around here. You aren't going to be able to be saving fuel. You can't line up the driver, use the draft to save fuel. If you're in the lead, you're just going to be looking in your mirror that entire time, and every time you're just going to be maximizing the brakes. And luckily, we don't have brake fade in iRacing to a very pretentious degree. I would like to say that we do, to just, you know, give myself that blanket of safety, as we have our first pit stop. Harley Smith, first driver in the pits, as they are going to get fuel in their car and get going. 29 minutes in, so not even halfway for Harley Smith of Outrun Motorsports. And, you know, that just might be a safety stop, to saying, you know what, just going to bring it in and see what I can do right now. 29 minutes, you know, if we go an extra lap right there, they've completely ran out of fuel. That would be threatening to their lead. But, you know, around Monza, if you don't have anyone around here, it's just pretty much flat out pushing into the end. But we have made it halfway. And yeah.
I don't want to be disrespectful to Harley, because he's had a good season. I think he won back at Sebring, and I think he may have won another race as well. He's been very quick, particularly in qualifying this season. However, probably the most interesting part of his race is whether or not he can take points off Thomas Mork, because for sure he needs Mork to score as few points as possible. Sure, he's doing everything he can at the moment. He's going to try to beat Bakema and Kraft, obviously. I mean, that's what he needs to pay his attention to, but he would absolutely love it if another car got in between him and his main championship rival. And so very important for in terms of the championship, where Smith ends up. He was a fair bit ahead of Cathode before the pit stops. As Wilhelmsen came into the pits, and you may have just noticed as well, Wilhelmsen's front of his car magically changing form, and a little bit of damage he picked up, which we don't think really cost him too much. But he did make contact with Lane earlier on in the event, and that has now been completely fixed.
Yeah, wonder of iRacing faster pairs. Some series love to use it. Some series do not like to use it. I'm kind of a fan of it not being enabled, because when you race, you can't really have that. And hot take right here, but you gotta sometimes live with it. I know first lap incidents, you can get caught out in there, but that's just racing sometimes.
So you wouldn't, because in my opinion, I think for all the splits bar top split in the special events, you should get a faster pair.
I do not believe that.
But my logic is, hang on, did we do Daytona 24, Austin? Were you on the team, which failed horribly?
I was on the team. No. I was on Sebring, and then y'all kicked me after.
No, I
15 minutes
didn't
running.
do Sebring to. No, or did I do Sebring? Maybe I didn't drive during Sebring. I know that.
None of us
I may have
drove. It
been
was
on
only
it.
Alessandro who drove for 15 minutes. And then we got killed within 15 minutes. That's what happened.
This is
And then they kicked
2021,
me.
I assume.
This was 2020.
Oh, okay. I wasn't involved in that one. Okay.
Yeah, and
so
then we went Daytona in 2021. I was already banned from the team, and then we crashed anyway, and it was still my fault.
So that was the one I drove in then, and
Yes.
I was the one who crashed because I got hit from behind after taking
And it was somehow my fault.
brilliant pole position, an absolutely wonderful pole position, and then got hit from behind on like lap 3 and ended the race. But in that scenario, don't you think, Austin, a faster pair, not necessarily to rid of the bad luck, we would have still been laps down, but at least the car would have been fixed, because on iRacing, if you bash in the steering, iRacing will not fix it. It will always be.
Now
5
they will
degrees out.
fix it with the new repair model that they've introduced earlier this year. But to quote Jamie Fluke, faster pairs just encourage crap driving. And I stand by that 100%. You gotta live with your mistakes, and you gotta learn from your mistakes. If you just crash into people and just go into the pits and snap it right back to reality, you don't learn from that mistake. You're just like, oh, I've lost a few seconds because of that. Instead of, oh, I gotta drive an entire hour with a front nose that looks like it's been ran over, and a relative of a roadkill. As Whistle Backerman hops into the pit lane before everybody else. Actually, no, just after. Where did Jake Shuri? Jake Shuri went in last lap as Backerman decided to follow that. As Shuri. Well, Shuri's been behind Backman, but he went into the pits before that. I think that's just to make that pit stop just a little bit shorter, because he had a little bit more fuel than Backman. Mort takes the lead. Kofed hops into the pits, as where is going to be Jake Shuri? Here's Shuri heading into Alboreto.
Backham now 28 seconds, so Backham was 1 second longer than Shuri stationary. Now, I'm not sure if that included Backham overshooting the pit stall. It'll be close. Backham is actually out of the pit, so it's going to be pretty much neck and neck heading down into.
Yep, there it is. Oh, we've seen this image before, but they are not side by side as Lewis and Max were. Wassell still in the lead, net lead of the P2 AMs. Thomas Mork is up there in the lead right now, but they have to still make their pit stop. Drivers that still have to make their pit stop is Daniel Kraft after their issue. Look at the 292. The 292 has had an issue. Look at the front nose of the 292. Paul just eclipsed. Oh, yeah, we saw that issue with Paul at Lesmo, too, after getting hit from behind by Justice Marks. But it was rear end damage, so I think Paul's had another issue.
As Paul damaged. Are you saying that Paul's got rear wing damage?
No. Paul has front nose damage.
Oh yeah, he was
after
the one
getting
who got
hit from the rear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he must have had another issue for Paul. as we see our two leaders, Daniel Kraft and Daniel Stevie Southwell, into the pits. Daniel Kraft, we saw that issue in the second chicane when he went around and fell away. Looks like he's gotten back into second place in the P2 Pros.
There goes,
yeah.
Stevie Southwell.
Yeah, there comes Stevie Southwell.
Now, is Kraft going to be
at
ahead of Bakema? Sorry to interrupt, Justin, but this might be quite close. I think Kraft's going to have these guys, actually. He was behind them before, but he's gone an extra lap or two. He was stationary for 2.5 seconds less, and he is
behind him.
Miles ahead. I mean, we're talking 5 seconds?
Yeah, 5 seconds at
1.5.
least, 500 meters, or honestly, I think we're going about 500 meters behind him. That was a very convincing gap between Daniel Kraft and Wessel. Kraft recovering his drive and getting back to the points, and 6 seconds behind Stevie Southwell. So Daniel Kraft is, after that mistake, I think Daniel Kraft is running a faster race. And don't throw it away right there as I'm giving praise to you. That was borderline cursing. I'll shut up and stop praising drivers right here. But Daniel Kraft has been putting in some consistent lap times.
Yeah, I mean, he's been really good. Now Stevie Southwell starts to, maybe needs to up his pace a little bit. Because Stevie Southwell was on pole position. They are teammates, but they're going for the championship. So I'm sure they're desperate as ever to beat one another. And of course, you need to consider as well the 1Xs. Now, I have not checked on this so far today, but Kraft currently has... Kraft's got 12. You're limited to 20, so you should be fine. I don't think that would be too much of a concern. Meanwhile...
They're going to be using Alboreto. They're going to be using Alboreto as much as they can. You can see Daniel Kraft running on to the outside of Alboreto.
But Stevie Southwell is on none. So Stevie Southwell would get a bonus points.
Wow.
Like this.
As Daniel Kraft flashing the lights on the straightaway, either to acknowledge... Oh, yep, just letting Jack Wells, who's coming out of the pits, just know that he's right there. As Jack Wells, you know, LMP1s his way into the braking zone and pulls away right there. Just Daniel Kraft just saying, hey, I'm right here. I know that you're there. Hopefully you know that I'm here so we don't have an issue in the braking point. And yeah.
Or Bakema versus Shuri here, down to a 10th of a second. I think Bakema may have made a mistake through Rettifilio and it going into De La Roggia. That is Shuri ahead, and that's a crucial move there. He puts another car between him. Oh, we've got an incident. It's Marks and Marks again, as it was a gain alongside for Bakema and Shuri. I think Shuri has stayed ahead in all of that, but massive disappointment there. Clist losing
and Mork and Smith has swapped spots.
And yeah, Mork has got ahead of Smith. He was closing in, he closed down a lot during the pit stop sequence, took very little fuel, did Thomas Mork, and he is now ahead of Harley Smith. That move has been coming for a couple of laps. And so
coming out of the Scary
is crucially keeping tabs.
Yeah, and coming out, the three things just happened in the LMP2 AMs. Fight for the lead, Shuri passing Bakema, Mork and Smith passing each other, and that big crash between Marks and Clist for the second time heading into the second chicane. And this is what happened. Clist and Marks is miles behind. Now, there did go side by side ahead of him, but where's... Oh, Paul just lost it on the exit of the entry right there, and then Marks just innocently slowed in there. So last time it was Marks... Well, both sides was Marks hitting the back of Clist, but in completely two different scenarios. And this is what happened to Smith. Smith had a bad exit. I believe he's got a slowdown. And that's what gave Mork Smith the spot.
And also, Shuri became very close for a moment. I think maybe that was just Shuri defending when became after originally making that move. Man, he carried a lot of speed there. I thought he'd got away with that actually, but no, he did run wide. And these two were alongside actually going through this corner on the previous lap, but Shuri was able to hold on, but it doesn't seem to be decisive, and Shuri has to beat Mork. Remember, 11 points, the difference going into this round of the championship. If he could finish like this, I think he'd take 10 points out of Mork's championship lead, and it would very much be a situation where if he could beat Mork in the final round, then he would be champion. So Shui needs to pick his fights here. I'm sure he would love to beat Bikema, and he does, you know, he absolutely needs to beat Bikema, but he doesn't want to lose time and bring Mork into this battle.
But Bikema gets an amazing run in that draft, but he's just lifting and coasting. Like he said, you do not want to be the car that is leading here as they head into Alberta, kicking up a little bit of grass on the inside, using all the track on the entry and exit, just keeping a wheel over that white line as Bikema, you know, if he wants that move, it's right there for him. He definitely had the run. He definitely had the track position to go for that inside line. It definitely goes to that inside line. Bikema back into the lead, and if you're Jake Shuri, you probably just say, "Why are you passing me, man? It's your first race in the championship. I know that you want to do good, but I'm in the fight for the championship, and my rival is right behind me. So Shuri's going to have to get a little bit nasty right here." And desperate and wishing that Harley Smith
for the move.
And Morgan, yeah, there goes Shuri down to the inside. Shuri back into the lead. Hops over that inside curb off the entry and retakes the lead right back from Beckman. And if they continue on, this will become a 4-car fight for the lead because Thomas Mork is chomping at the bit and closing down on these two. It was 4 seconds entering that chicane. It's now 3.5 seconds. You can see behind them right here in these closing 18 minutes here at Monza as Shuri versus Wassell. Wassell looking down to the inside, just selling a little bit of a dummy onto Ascari. You gotta always keep Ascari in mind. He hits a big curb on the inside off the exit of Ascari, does Backma, but Backma seems to have regained control of that car. Shuri defending onto the inside and just selling a little bit of a, well, just breaking free of the draft from Wassell. But Wassell, like a homing missile, is on the tail of Jack Shuri. But Jake is just too far away for Wassell to easily get this overtake into turn 1. But he's going to have to force the opportunity as Jake defends onto the inside. Here comes Wassell. Round the outside, side by side. They go into the break zone. Jake went a little bit later than Wassell. Jake back down to the inside, able to retain the lead right here. As you can see, that gap is now down to 3 seconds. Another half-second loss to Thomas Mork. And Mork, I would say, would be putting in his fastest laps of the race to try to stay try to close in on them, and this is where Shuri retook the lead last time. He goes to defend down to the inside. Wassell around the outside. They're side by side. Shuri takes a big hit to the curb. There he goes, side by side through the entire quarter. It was 2 seconds. It's now 1.9 seconds. Wassell held on to the inside, held it around the outside, then on to the inside. Wassell, your new leader of the P2 AM class, as they head through Lesmo 2 now. As they continue on, 1.9 seconds separates them from Thomas Mork. This has brought Mork back into this fight, and they have an LP1 coming through right now as they are scrapping like it's the last lap. It's the last 15 minutes for these two as they head through Ascari. Wassell back to the leading runner with Shuri right behind him as they come out of Ascari. 2 seconds to Mork now. Mork's definitely going to be getting some of that draft that these two are going up, and I gotta say, if the next 2 corners, the next 2 laps, they start fighting like they did right there, we're definitely going to be seeing Thomas Mork go for the win.
Yeah, I think you got to question the tactics here from Shuri because, you know, he was following Bikema really nicely early on there, pulling away from Mork. It was absolutely fine. And now he's decided to fight.
Sometimes you just want to fight. Sometimes you just want to fight.
Sometimes you want to fight, but sometimes you want to win the championship. And it seems like this battle is bringing Mork right back into play, and potentially he might finish behind Mork, despite being, what, 7 seconds ahead before the pit stops. So I think right now, he's just got to basically be annoyed, even if he is faster, which he may well be than Bikema. I think just waiting behind until the last 5 minutes, try to grow that gap to Mork once again, I think would probably be the wisest thing, because you can see how that gap has absolutely been annihilated over the last few laps. I mean, look at Shuri's lap times going from the low 36s to the 38s onto the 3 previous laps. So yeah, trying his best as Mork's putting himself back into this, and Harley Smith is still there as well, only 1 further second behind.
Yeah, Harley Smith was kind of separated by an LP1, but to say another bit of trivia, the most egotistical people in the world are race car drivers. Either in real life or in sim, you always believe that you're faster than the guy ahead of you, and you believe it to your soul to the point where you just stop thinking, you just go for moves. And that's kind of what we saw right there between Bakma and Shuri. Shuri, you know, got a little bit ego happy to go for there. That's really brought down that gap to Mork, and that's kind of what started this. And then Bakma, after being overtaken, is like, I got nothing to lose. I know I'm faster than you. I qualified pole in the AM, so bring it on. And that's kind of what we saw right there. I think they calmed down with each other just a little bit. Jake kind of knew what was going on because he's probably looking at his relative to see Thomas Mork 2 seconds behind him. If he goes for a move right now, that's definitely going to bring Thomas within striking distance within a few laps. And they don't have a few laps left, 15 minutes, but you see Wessel defending all the way down to the inside and not making this easy for Jake if he wanted to make a move right there, but he was pretty much saying, hey, go for the move. I dare you. Slow yourself up. They got an Audi right behind him. I believe that is De Filippis. Actually, no, yeah, that is De Kilner.
Kilner. Yeah. By the way,
Kilner is enjoying the fight.
You were saying earlier on how you can feel like you're... Look how close this is.
Where did this come from?
So, apologies everyone. I don't know if we can have the lap time comparison up, but yeah, Loveridge has just been taking absolute chunks. I think he took a chunk as well during the pit stop. And apologies, we haven't been showing too much of this. But
well, it just kind of appeared. Last lap, the gap between these two was 1.4. The lap before that was 2 seconds. Then it was 2.4, 2.8, and it just suddenly came down, and we had this ding-dong fight for the P2 AMs. But yeah, Jack, well, we now have a fight for the P2 AMs lead and the P1s, but now that we set that, I believe, oh, it's our timing screen that's being glitchy. It's 6/10 now instead of 1.8. But Wessel,
Gamer is going to have to go defensive.
Oof.
And again, Shuri still wants to fight this one. The gap to Mork, honestly, they can pull away from Mork. Mork is not catching them when they're not fighting. In fact, actually, Smith is caught back up to Mork, so Mork had a little bit of a slowish lap there in the mid-36s. Still gained time on Bakema, and I think that's getting a bit personal. I think Shuri's getting very frustrated in this one, but that's a nothing move there. He's put his rival offline, and that's just going to compromise Bakema's pace.
He's in the gravel.
And he can't do anything after that either, so the gap continues to go down 1.2 seconds now between second and third. But anyway, what you were saying earlier on, Austin.
Fight for the lead by timing tower. 2/10 separates Wells and Loveridge right now. They were 2/10 separating each other heading into the lead as they are nose to tail with each other in the fight for the P1 lead. Wells and Loveridge, Audi versus Porsche, and it is green, 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 green for Matt Loveridge. 3/10 taking away that lap. He's in the draft, and that Audi is looking on rails, hunting Porsche blood right now. Where does this pace come from Matt Loveridge?
Yeah, this is, well, to be fair, he was matching him, wasn't he, at Hockenheim? But, I mean, he's got this gap down from 10 seconds, served a quali ban, remember, Loveridge. And he's got a chance at winning this race. But a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, sorry, but we've got to thank our sponsors, Apex Racing Academy, because they are offering some of the prizes for these drivers, some subscription prizes to the top teams and drivers, and yeah, you can get track guides and setups and data packs, all from Apex Racing Academy. Do check out apexracingac.com for more details. And I'm sure some of these drivers would have been used, particularly the P2 drivers would have been using those setups, serving them well. Let's see if the energy usage can serve Wells successfully here. Down into the Variante de Retafilio for the
Wells defending on the inside. Loveridge gets off very loose off the exit, out the entry right there. And Loveridge forces Wells to make a mistake. Wells forces Loveridge to make a mistake. Loveridge got extremely weird right there. Loveridge, though, putting the pressure on Wells to make a big mistake. Wells went over a curb right there, and our LP1 leaders almost having a massive crash at the lead of this race. Heading into turn 1. That was a very spicy moment, but Matt Loveridge of Olympus Esports giving the pressure to Jack Wells.
Well, he nearly did it that time. Surely we're going to see a move here for Loveridge. I mean,
well,
he's
Loveridge
been
is
much faster for
he's
a while.
spicy. He's being spicy right here. And
Yeah.
after that situation, you're like, okay, I'm past him. I don't care.
And look how close these three now. Top 3 in the P2, separated by less than 1.3 seconds. Mork is well and truly within the slipstream. Now, Mork might be tight on fuel, to be fair. He took less fuel than everyone else, and he didn't have a draft at the start of the race. He hasn't had a draft in the second half of the race either. So
Until right now.
Until right now. So he will be tight on fuel, I imagine, will Mork. So keep an eye on that one. But he still seems to be, you know,
Well, actually,
pedal.
Thomas went into the pits later than everybody else. He went into the pits on lap 22. Shuri, lap 20. Bachman, 21. As Bachman defending onto the inside once again from Shuri. And that outside line is starting to dig a little bit of a rut on the exit of that corner as they go through that chicane. Let's go take a look at our LMP1 leaders as they fight it out with 8 minutes to go. 52 minutes down, and this race is starting to churn up right there. But Loveridge, I feel like that Audi's unfortunate Achilles heel of unable to regen during the straightaway is really hurting him. As you can see, he took a lot of curb off there. He jumped into the air once again. Loveridge getting a lot of time through that second chicane as Jack Wells is starting to have a little bit of an issue. As, well, they're coming up to a lapped car, and here we go again. Loveridge versus Wells. Audi versus Porsche, that straight line speed. And this is Wells just looking out to the inside, trying to break the track, and also just trying to see if he can use that lapped car to their advantage, exiting Ascari, or entering Ascari, but they're going to be on the straightaway, so just clearing them right there. Leverage using the draft of the LPT. You know, you got to use what you can get. Jack Wells swooping back over. Oh, they're snaking and dicing and turning and swerving on the straightaway. Honestly, it looked like they were in a Fast and Furious movie on doing absolute nutty things with cars that probably shouldn't be done on a racetrack. As they go back to the drag race. It's 1/10 separates between them right now. Last time this happened, there was a very big and squirming incident. Here goes Leverage. Leverage looking onto the outside. Wells defending onto the inside, getting early onto the brakes. He goes Leverage. Wells late onto the brakes, going back into the lead. Wells, though, you know, he's always worried. He cuts the inside curb just a little bit too wide. He leaves the inside door open off the exit of turn 1, and he left a lot of room to be desired right there. Probably
P2 lead, right?
As, oh my god, what is happening here? 3 by 3 heading into Lesma 2, and almost a group of 4 now, because there is Smith in the back right there. And here comes Shuri defending from there, and oh my gosh, I'm gonna need, I know I have 2 eyes, but Mork and Shuri just pass each other. Mork gets around Shuri, and now Mork putting the pressure on Bakma. And Jake Shuri is probably shaking his head like, what just happened? How this fight that was 1-2 by 10 seconds has gone into 1, 2, 3, 4 separated just by 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, really disappointing here for sure. He was guaranteed to beat Mork, because here comes the race leaders. This is the part of the circuit where Loveridge is very quick. He doesn't use the boost too much coming out of Retafilier, and instead uses it around this part of the circuit, I think coming out of the Parabolica. And here he comes up the inside. Is Wells going to be able to cover him off? He'll almost drive him in over the white line there. Wells managing to deploy a bit more energy. Is there going to be the double boost here over the line for Loveridge? No, he decides to stay in behind. And then, yeah, coming out of this chicane, there's nothing really that Loveridge ever does through Curva Grande, because you'll see Wells pulls a couple of car lengths ahead. And I doubt there's going to be a move heading into
each other. I feel like they're playing chicken with each other. It's like, no, you boost, no, you boost, no, you boost, because Loveridge's got the pace. He definitely has the pace, but he's braking much earlier. He's playing games with Jack Wells. Jack Wells been defending most of these corners, kind of like what we're seeing with Bakma and Mork with each other, but Wells defending onto the inside once more, and that's just allowing Loveridge to brake a little bit earlier, regen that battery, and just keep his battery fully charged. And this is just playing into Loveridge's gain right here, and Loveridge could just hold down that boost button, but I feel like they're just waiting to this final lap between each other, because Loveridge is where he wants to be. And with these boosts, you know, you have Wells leading. He could just boost to battle Loveridge, and Loveridge can boost to attack Wells. and it's pretty much just a game of chicken between each other right now. As you see, Leverage just kind of weaving, trying to find the line. He goes onto the outside. Wells and Leverage. You see Leverage gaining the lead right there. He used the boost, and he gets ahead of him. A3 Alboreto, your new leader of the race in the LP1s, in the Audi, Matt Loveridge.
Huge move, but this is the half of the circuit where we usually see Will's extremely strong. I think Loveridge might use a bit more energy than he usually does down the pit straight, just to try to fend off any overtake. Will the 82 go down the inside? He's thinking about it, but he decides to stay behind. Bakamer's had a problem, by the way, just behind, as he has dropped down to 4th position. So Mork is now leading in the P2 AM category, which is something that you would not believe earlier on.
This is now a 5-car fight.
The Audi moving past earlier
okay, that's
on.
an Audi.
And then actually it was Bakamer's fault, really. He misjudged the braking, had to pick up the stay down, and he's decided to waste some time by going through the boards as well, and Bakamer taking himself out of contention.
Yeah, fastest way to clear that slowdown penalty, though. But, yeah, they're probably... but that is right in front of this fight. You can see Bakamer right ahead of Loveridge, and, you know, this is going to play well into Loveridge and Wells' hands. And we might be seeing the battle for the two leads finish around each other at the same time on track. We got 3 minutes remaining here, which honestly is about 2 laps remaining here at Monza, and this is looking very fun indeed. You can see everybody going up to the outside and heading into the Alboreto. Thomas Mork bringing it back right there.
Hold up for Loveridge.
Being held up by Bakamer right there. Loveridge trying to find his way around. Bakamer going very wide. Bakamer's off the track. He probably knows that he's out of this fight, so he's probably not going to get it away. But you can see that gap to Loveridge and Wells has increased right there, as there goes Loveridge down to the inside. He's got Smith. He's looking for Shuri. Shuri's not going to be there for him. He's just going to be taking it one by one each time by, as they're closing in on 2 minutes to go. Coming onto Curva Grande around the outside. Gets past Shuri. And now onto Mork around the outside. But now where is Wells? Is Wells going to be a factor in this fight? Is he going to be onto the inside? Here comes Wells. You see Shuri defending onto the inside. That's going to be holding off Wells right there, as they are nose to tail right now for our fight for the P2 AMs. And now Jack Wells, is he going to be held up heading into... No, he's not even going to go for the movement heading into lesson 1. That's playing more into Loveridge's book right here, because he sees that this is the fight for the P2 AM championship. Or he assumes it would be the fight for the P2 AMs, because they both are starting with 2 right there. Here goes Jack Wells, finding that opportunity, being safe about it, not forcing any sort of interclass interpretation splitting with each other, and ruining this beautiful fight that we have with less than 2 minutes to go. And it will be white flag next lap. Loveridge, though, he took advantage of that gap pristinely to make that gap 2 seconds now to Jack Wells, as the white flag waves in the air. 1 lap to go, 1 minute to go. Mork versus Shuri, the battle on track for the P2 AM.
Yeah, I think Loveridge is going to be safe out in the lead, and it will just come down to these two. Half a second now is the gap. Shuri, I mean, he doesn't usually come for an interview, to be fair, Jake, but he certainly won't come for an interview tonight, because he will be furious. He will not believe how this race has gone, and Mork already with the championship lead, winning this race, he would well and truly have a hand on the trophy. It would need to be an awful result for him, with Shuri probably winning the overall P2 category next week in order to overturn a 20-point difference, and that's what the difference is looking like it's going to be next week at the final round of the championship. Mork a little bit sideways, but the gap's still at 0.6 of a second. He's honestly just had the pace in the second half of the race, hasn't he, Mork? He's just been faster. Even when he has got into the lead, he's been able to break the draft. And yeah, all those laps with Shuri and Bakamer battling, it has cost them.
Yeah, the fighting, the ego between Bakamer and Shuri was ultimately their downfall. They could have just played it safe, waited towards the final 5 minutes, and then gone ape wild with each other and not hold each other up. But you know, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do, and sometimes the egos takes over. And speaking of taking over, from a penalty to start the race to taking the win after 2 horrible races, hardware failures, crashes, Matt Loveridge returns to the winner's circle and redeems himself by taking the win here at Monza. Jack Wells agreeing that was a good race. Flashing the lights right there as Thomas Mork takes the win here at Monza in the LMP2 AM Championships, and certainly puts a hand on that trophy right there. Looking for next week to win that for sure. And speaking of hands on a trophy, Daniel Salzbo is still out there right now. We're looking at Josh Lane, who I would say of all the LMP1s has probably had the most calm day out of anyone.
Yeah, we haven't seen too much of him, but good drive there from Josh. Maybe his best drive of the season. He's happy with that one. He gets onto the podium for Top Down Motorsports. And in the P2 Pros, wow, this gap was 9.5 seconds at one point. It is down to 2.1 on what could have been for Daniel Kraft. Now, what I would say...
They're still racing,
potentially,
by the way.
They are still racing, but I've got confidence in the Hungarian here. He has made barely any mistakes throughout the season. I think Sabo hasn't been able to use the off-tracks, whilst Kraft has been. And that will give you a couple of tenths of a second each time you use that. That is a part of it. However, Kraft will be frustrated. And Sabo, with the bonus point that he has now from this race, gets into an instance, will be in a very strong position. He has been behind for the whole season as Sabo, but for the first time this season, he takes the lead of the P2 Pro Championship and is a big favourite heading into round 9 of the season next week. Kraft, with that spin at Variante de la Rogia earlier on, potentially costing him the title because he looked quick tonight, but he was not able to put it into the results standings.
He certainly did look quick, and it was a very fantastic day for all 3 of our classes. Championships are all updated, but Matt Loveridge, after 2 races in a row, this is how you want to come back with a win at Monza, and in a very, very sudden fashion, giving the pressure onto Jack Wells late into the race to take the win. Josh Lane in 3rd, Hilner Wilhelmsen in 4th, and Roberto De Filippis probably never wanting to step foot in Italy after what happened this race. P2 Pros, Daniel Salzbo takes the win ahead of Daniel Kraft, but Daniel Kraft's recovery drive to be 1.8 seconds behind Salzbo at the end is very impressive, and certainly something to be looking forward to as that championship fight goes down to the wire. Thomas Mork, oh man, what a drive right there. Taking advantage of Shuri versus Wassell battling each other for the lead. Shuri in 2nd, Harley Smith in 3rd. Wassell, after that issue with that LMP1, just kind of separated them. Falls down to 4th place. Morton Colfed, Justice Marks, and Paul Joseph Kliss finish out your final parts of the grid. And Sam, I believe you're standing by with Matt.
Yes, I'll drag him in. Matt Loveridge joins us in the commentary box now. Congratulations, Matt. That is an incredible race win. Very rarely have we had a driver start, I mean, pretty much last, because you had a quali ban and yet win the race. Your pace just seemed absolutely insane out there. I mean, do you think you've ever been that quick this season?
If I'm honest, I'm not entirely sure. But in the end, I mean, despite a slight setup tweak, I mean, I picked an older season setup, which, as it turns out, wasn't exactly optimized for the first chicane. In the end, I think my pace started to improve, my boosting started to improve, and then it all culminated in the end to a race win.
Yeah, it's absolutely mega. At what point did you think I could win this? Because it seemed like in the early stages you were losing a bit of time to Jack, but then it just seemed to be half a second each lap. I mean, was it before the pit stops that you thought that you could catch up, or was it even earlier than that?
I'd say it was a bit earlier than that. I was saving fuel from start to finish to see if I could recoup any time. But as soon as when I was something like 7 seconds behind Jack when he came into the pits, and once I pitted and I was 5 seconds faster coming out, I think at this point I knew I could win it.
And heading into the final round of the championship next week, round 9 of the season, being hosted at Road Atlanta. How's that, Jack? I mean, do the P1 guys often visit there?
Not often. It's a very short track. It can also be a very dangerous track with how blind it can be. But I think with the P2s, it's going to be an excellent fight. With the P1s, I'm not entirely sure. I've never really driven an LMP1 around Road Atlanta before, so it's going to take some getting used to and a bit of fiddling around with the setups. See what works and what doesn't. I reckon next week will genuinely be a good fight, and I hope I have a good fight with Jack Wells again, because I think tonight he drove so hard and he drove so well, and I hope to have a battle with him again next week.
Absolutely. I mean, a word on that bad stat sheet tonight, because I mean, Austin was saying how potentially you guys were playing maybe a few games because it seemed like you were much faster. It's Monza, and you got the boost, but you seem to be maybe hanging back a little bit for a few laps. Was that the case, or was it just genuinely very tricky to overtake?
I would say I was hanging back because Monza's not the easiest place to overtake, especially with the chicanes and how tight Lesmo 1 and 2 can be. It can be very frustrating when you try and do an overtaking maneuver and you just realise you're too close to the chicane or there's too much traffic ahead.
Well, congratulations once again on the race win, Matt. It's certainly been a long time coming. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, I'd like to thank the team for pretty much egging me on, despite all the silly mistakes I've made. I was genuinely thinking of quitting because of what I keep doing, but I want to thank the team for egging me on. I want to thank Thomas, Charles, and who else should I thank? Malfa as well, part of the team. They're awesome guys. They kept me going. They kept me going on my feet during the series.
Awesome. Well, thanks to them for keeping you around in the championship and yeah, enabling you to have this fantastic result. We'll see you back next week, Matt.
Yep, I'll see you there.
Matt Loveridge, there, your race winner tonight. By the way, quick shout out to SDK Gaming, the provider of all our graphics, along with their heads-up display, live timing. Particularly the heads-up display is great for whilst you are racing, and it's absolutely pivotal for our broadcast to be able to sync our cameras. Magic technology. So yeah, thanks to them, and do check out sdk-gaming.co.uk in order to get a 14-day free trial. Austin, who are you going to have a talk with?
Well, I'm actually standing by with our LMP2 race winner in the LMP2 AM Championship, Thomas Mort. Thomas, that came out of nowhere. Suddenly, you saw the two leaders having a fight with you, and then next thing you know, you were in that fight, and next thing you know, you were leading that fight. Walk us through those final 20 minutes when everything just seemed to go your way.
Well, first of all, hello. Yeah. What can I say? It was insane. I didn't think I had a chance, to get back because they were 10, 11 seconds in front of me after, the first stint. I had a great pit stop where I did catch up, and my second stint it was just. I had a really good pace. Yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm ecstatic right now.
You're speechless and ecstatic. We can hear it in your breathing. But yeah, it was an absolute masterclass for you to bring down 10 seconds pretty much in 30 minutes. And but it was in the last 20 minutes when the cars ahead of you for fighting. When you finally joined that fight, when it became a 3-car fight, what was your game plan? What was your strategy? When were you making your moves?
To be honest, I actually don't know. I hoped that they would, make some small faults where I could try to overtake and so on. And they did some places. I believe maybe, their tires were going bad at the end, and I believe that was my strength, that my tires were better than theirs.
Well, Thomas, with this win, you start. I believe the engravers are already working on your trophy as we speak, but we still have one more race to go, and it's not for surely yours yet. But how are you feeling about next week?
I can't wait. I love Road Atlanta. It's such a great track. And
Well, Thomas,
yeah, I hope to win, of course.
Thomas, it is going to be a very fun finale for you at Road Atlanta. I'm wishing you the best of luck. But before we let you go and get that eager start on, celebrating tonight, anybody you want to thank?
Big shout out to my team, 3Day 1K Racing. Unfortunately, Thomas couldn't show up, but Morten, he did what he could. So yeah, shout out to my guys.
There's certainly going to be ecstatic about that win. From 10 seconds after the first pit stop, Thomas Morg takes the win and, is looking very good into that LP2 AMS trophy right there. Congrats on the win. Sam, do you have anybody else for you?
I do. However, I am going to give another shout out to another sponsor, Virtual Racing School, for delivering 50+ data packs on iRacing for both road and oval racing, setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-on-one coaching. Got some exciting news as well about Virtual Racing School from our sim building as well. More on that. I won't reveal too much, but more on that. I'm sure you'll see on social media over the coming weeks. So in the waiting area, we have also got Jack Wells, who joins us in the country box now. Jack, not quite the result that you want. I'm sure you would have liked to win tonight, but it's still very good points, and it takes you a step closer to the championship win. So you must be fairly pleased with that.
Yeah, going into the race, I thought, just run it, take what you can, but don't fight too hard. But I guess when the red mist descends, changed a bit. Wanted to, definitely go for a win, not just sit back. But that was really good battling with Matt. The Audi's really strong, but he drove it perfectly.
Yeah, were you surprised by how quick he came back at you? Because it seemed like you had the pace on him in the opening few laps, and then he just seemed to come back. I mean, do you know why that was? Do you think that was just him finding his speed, or was there something on your end which was going on?
Yeah, so I know I'm not sure if he did it obviously in private, but I noticed he joined the practice late and then didn't put in a quali lap or didn't put in a representative quali lap. So I knew he'd find his footing eventually. So yeah, I was kind of expecting it at some point. Same sort of thing as Daytona, I guess, where he came back for that one. But yeah, so I was kind of expecting it. But when we both came out the pits, he really closed the gap, and then I was a bit stuck because his pace, I just couldn't really find an answer for him.
And I mean, what were you thinking when you were going through that last batch? Because I mean, well, earlier on, he was very complimentary of your racecraft, was Matt. But it seemed like a good fair battle. I mean, it seemed like you were all making your moves, nice and early. Do you think there was anything that you could have done differently with the overtake that eventually did it? And do you think if you'd repelled that attack, you would have held onto the lead, or do you think it was quite inevitable?
By that point, I basically used up all my boost. I was trying to be really tactical in the way that whenever he'd use a lot on a straight to try and make that move on that straight, I'd then, on the other straight where he had to regen, I'd just brake really early and regen as much as I could. But in the Porsche, it's not really as easy to do that, and he just swept past me eventually, and I didn't have anything left to counter him. But yeah, the battling when we did have it was great. He was really respectful of the space of the track and everything.
Well, we can only hope that battle has been renewed next week, because you two have had some good battles, like you said earlier on. The Daytona was very entertaining as well. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Jack?
Just the team, Beast Racing, who have supported me throughout the whole season. Yeah, been great to have their backing with this push for the championship. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming to the country box, Jack, and yeah, best of luck next time.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Jack Wells, your second place finisher in the P1s, but I can confirm he's got a big margin advantage in the championship. He has got a 54-point lead in the P1 championship, and you only get 50 points for a race win. So he's looking very strong for that championship, Austin.
It certainly is. He's already flexing in that. I would say he's already flexing to prepare to lift up that trophy. Um, as some might say, just needs to show up next week and pretty much to secure it.
Yeah, looking very good for him. I think we have time for one more interview. Very quick one. Josh Lane, would you like to take this one, Austin?
I'll let you take it, actually.
No problem. Josh Lane joins us in the commentary box now. Josh, well done. It's third position tonight. And I think one of your best drives of the season. It all seemed fairly quiet. I mean, unfortunately, you didn't get much track time because it just seemed all very slick and all very clean.
Yeah, finally. Took me a long time. My computer fails a lot, so there was that. That stopped me from getting points in general, but yeah. So I'm really happy with P3. Yeah, it was a tough fight at the start with Wilhelmsen. I did have a bit of an incident there, but I let him pass again. And then yeah, I knew I was faster. I knew I was faster than him from practice, so I just I just tried to stay consistent, and it seemed to work well. And then yeah, it was pretty smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, all seemed, very good for yourself. I mean, how did you find sorts of making a setup for this track? Were you able to get it comfortable? Because there's a lot of high curbs around this place. Are you able to dial that into the P1 and make it comfortable to drive?
Well, to be honest, I just used a major setup and adjusted it a bit. And well, yeah, it was. I didn't really need to dial anything in since I'm not one to absolutely eat curbs unless they're absolutely flat. So I was able to keep the car stable and on track without. So I was able to be quick without needing to absolutely ride the curbs. So that was all right.
Well, next week we have got Red Atlanta. I think we've had a couple of words that maybe the Audi is a bit stronger than the Porsche around this circuit. What do you think the balance is going to be like next time?
I honestly have no idea. I've never driven Road Atlanta. It sounds pretty wild, but I'm still relatively new to iRacing, so I've never driven the track. I've only watched Petit Le Mans from Monza, and yeah, so I honestly have no idea. I could expect the Audi to be better there since it's got quite a bit of straight lines. Audi's really good in the straights, so yeah. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I can have a decent result there as well, and then well, that's the end of the championship. We'll see. I'll see how it goes from there.
Excellent. Well, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, so thanks to TDM, Top Down Motorsports, for supporting me, watching the whole race, and the TGM, who also watched the whole race. They're both my teams, both really cool people. They really helped me out a lot with my racing, and yeah, so really thankful to them for watching and supporting me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming and having a chat with us, Josh, and yeah, see you back next week.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Josh Lane there, your P3 finisher tonight in the P1 category, as I think that pretty much is all we have time for this evening. But you do not want to miss this round next week. Championships are it's mainly sorted out in the P1s and the P2 AMs, but still very much alive in the P2 Pros, and that will be from Red Atlanta, like you were saying before, next week on Apex Racing TV. Of course, we've got loads of other broadcasts as well coming up over the next few days. We've actually got the Radical Racing Challenge up in about half an hour's time. We've also got the Formula 4s tomorrow, the Formula 3.5 tomorrow. We've got Spec Racer Ford on Sunday. We've got the IGP Fun on Sunday as well. We've got Vicmotech Monday night. We have the new Porsche Cup Championship starting in a couple of weeks. That's going to be like 60 odd cars around the short version of Red Bull Ring, so you don't want to miss that one. And loads of other broadcasts coming up on Apex Racing TV. So do make sure to like this video and give a subscribe to the channel, and then you can see all our videos as they go up. And also check out our social media platforms as well on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But for now, from myself, Sam Fitzpatrick, and from Austin Knights, and also Jamie Fluke as well, we are going to say goodbye, and we'll see you back next time at Road Atlanta. See you then.
Are you struggling? Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.